Well, staying with the issue of housing, and millions of leaseholders currently own the right to use their property for a period of time and can pay hundreds in annual ground rent to a freeholder, on top of separate service charges. Announcing a new timetable for reform this week, Housing Minister Matthew Pennycook said that common hold, where people own their homes without an expiring lease, will become the default legal ownership before the next election. Campaigners warned it may come too late to help current leaseholders trapped in exploitative arrangements. Tara Welsh, the BBC's housing reporter, has more.
In every city and many towns, in almost every tower, there are leaseholders behind every door who say they're trapped. Leaseholders are obliged to pay a landlord or freeholder a service charge to pay for communal facilities and maintenance. Many say they're stuck with big service charges and little information about why the costs are rising.
Most residents don't mind paying reasonable fees to maintain the structural integrity of their buildings or for services like lift maintenance and security. But campaigners say the leasehold system is financially exploitative, leaving families feeling powerless and even afraid in their own homes.
Gaz Rahman says his home has been plagued by leaks.
Like, look, it's all cracked. This is the top. You can see a crack. And you can see all the pointing are coming off. Yep. And you can see the brickworks there. First thing in the morning, there's leaks coming from the living room, there's leaks coming from the bathroom.
Despite this, his service charges have increased by 458% in 5 years to more than £4,600.
Oh, does that go into the roof?
Yeah, that's the roof. Service charges I'm paying are rubbish downstairs. Communal cleaning never happens. I can show you around. Communal windows, where they said is windows. We haven't got windows, we've got railings. It hasn't been done. People are not saying they're not going to pay the service charge. They will pay the service charge, but give them a service.
Gaz's issue is the fact that he's paying that money and can't see what he's paying for. He feels like he's not getting a service, and when things go wrong, they're simply not repaired.
Landlords say the cost of maintaining properties has gone up with the cost of living.
While the landlord responsible for Gaz's property told the BBC that they understand the residents' frustration regarding the roof leak and rising service charges. They say service charges reflect the direct cost of delivering services and are adjusted yearly for inflation, and that the roof has now been fully repaired. Well, if you want to know more on this story, you can watch Tara's The Leasehold Trap, available now on the BBC iPlayer. But to talk more about this, joining us now is Harry Scoffin, who is the founder of the campaign group Free Leaseholders. Hi, Harry. Great to have you on the programme. So let's talk about reform, which points to the future. Does it go far enough?
Well, let's start with the positive, shall we? It's great to have that clarity. It's great to have the timescales. But leaseholders are sick of endless consultations. And I think the real point that we want to stress here is that leasehold is a cost of living crisis, and it is not in the Labour Party's or the government's political interests to basically let this go on for the whole of the Parliament. For your, viewers,
and that's the time frame, isn't it?
The whole of the Parliament is up to 5 years, and we obviously had 7 years of consultation by the last government.
So what do you want to see happen now?
What we need is a law that's brought forward no later than the second session of Parliament, because what happens is that this issue falls down the agenda. There may be a war, there may be an economic crisis, there may be another pandemic, and this is the reality. And there's no wonder that the freeholder lobby were licking their lips yesterday, because they saw more consultations, more sand in the gears, more opportunities to water down the policies. And you know what? We've met many voters, lifelong Conservative voters, who voted Labour for the first time in their lives because of this brilliant commitment in the manifesto to end the feudal leasehold system for good. And the reality is that what we're worried about is that these consultations, however well-meaning they are, it's rigged for the freeholders and their lobbyists and their lawyers who get paid to respond to these things.
OK. So tell us about your mum, who has fallen victim, in your view, to this leaseholder issue.
So her service charges have only gone one way, and it's up. And it's taken over her life, it's taken over my life for the last 7 years. So what we're doing... How big
have the rise has been? Because obviously these charges will go up with inflation.
Yeah, so they went up £10,000 in 4 years. And the freeholder, I won't name them here today, but is a billionaire offshore. These are some of the most powerful people in our country, and they are very involved in the political scene. And that's all we're asking for. Give us control of the homes that we paid for. Labour are the new party of home ownership. They need to honour that sooner, because look what happened with Michael Gove.
Okay.
Look what happened to the Tories. They all promised big, and they left it far too late. And that's the problem. I'm 29 now. Labour promised in 1995, under Nick Rainsford and the late Frank Dobson, that they would end feudalism and they would ban new leasehold flats. They got lobbied. They didn't do it.
Okay.
Common hold never became common. So we've got to have that momentum now.
OK, just briefly, what's happened to your mum? How much is she paying and how's she affording it?
She's now paying almost £40,000 a year. There's no swimming pool, there's no gym, there's no garden. So this has taken over our life. We can't buy the freehold. We can't get right to manage. So we're so excited when Labour talk about planning reform, YIMBY movement. But let's make sure that we don't create all these new debt traps. Let's give everyone common hold, not just for the future, but for existing.
Dan, you've heard several examples there of what's been going on. £40,000 a year just in service charges. Harry says it's not quick enough. It's great that Labour's doing something about it, but why not faster?
Well, Harry's a really fantastic campaigner on this issue. We've been in touch already, and I think we're going to be meeting some of my constituents in the coming weeks. And I've been hearing both before the election and since about how people want us to go as fast as possible on this. And my message to Harry, my message to the campaigners and to the constituents of mine who are living in leasehold flats that are, you know, they are really suffering, is that I understand, my parliamentary colleagues understand, and the Minister understands that this is a big 21st century injustice and we've got to tackle it. And Matthew Pennycook set out in, I think, quite significant detail this week the steps that the government has taken and the steps we will take in the months and years ahead to reform things. Well, look, so the first thing is that, as Harry mentioned, the last government took a long time to get there on this, and then they had to pass their bill in a rush at the very end when Rishi Sunak rushed to call the election. So we need to fix the problems that there are with that bill first. Then we've said that next year, which is not too far away now, we will bring forward our draft bill so that we can begin to make progress.
Okay.
And we are going to keep working on this. And I want to say to Harry and to people across London, me and other new Labour MPs, and I'm sure Lib Dem MPs too, we are not going to give up until we've got the changes that people need.
I mean, we agree with the change, but we really want to push Labour to go further. We've called for all leaseholds to be converted into common hold or freehold. We think that's the right thing to do. But we also agree with the pace. Leaseholders don't deserve to wait another 4 years to see this improvement. We'd like to see Labour move quicker and end the uncertainty for so many of our residents.
Harry.
And I think the thing is, it's all about just prioritisation, because Labour, their heart is in the right place. No one is ever criticising Labour about their sincerity. What it is it's bandwidth, it's resources, and the reality is, not to be rude, but a lot of these policies Labour are bringing forward are from Law Commission reports from 4 years ago, which themselves were extensively consulted upon. We've got the scars on our backs from those consultations.
But we have only been in for 4 months. So,
and I get that, but it's just like, can we give it the priority that other issues have? Like, for example, assisted dying. They find the slots for that one, and that's complicated too.
Yeah, we're talking about that in just a moment. But Harry, let me ask you what redress there is for people like your mother and so many people who are affected. There are obviously an awful lot of landlords and managing agents who are very well behaved and are not unscrupulous. But what about those who are not treating those with leaseholds fairly?
Well, the sad reality is that unless you want to become a serial litigator in the tribunal system, which I would not necessarily recommend for the faint-hearted, because the big freeholders use KCs like the top barristers who are very eloquent, and unless you want to go down that route, and also if you fight your landlord, and Labour to their credit have admitted that this policy will go, that if you beat a landlord or you lose a landlord, basically the landlord will get to put his legal costs on your service charge. There's no other area of litigation that happens. So it means that actually you've already lost before you've brung a case.
Okay.
Just like the sub-postmasters.
OK, and that is being looked into, I think, isn't it?
One of the first casework issues I had for residents was an operator in my constituency who were not providing security for a building where residents were paying service charges. They weren't properly providing the waking watch that was required for fire protection. And the powers that residents have, and even MPs have, is so limited. I was one of the MPs last week who wrote a letter to an operator to ask them to come to Parliament to meet us and to listen to residents' concerns. Hopefully we'll be able to get some recourse, hopefully we'll see some movement, but the system as it stands just makes that so difficult to achieve.
OK, well, full agreement there that it absolutely needs changing. Harry, thanks for telling us about your situation, your mum's situation, and hopefully we'll get you back in once we see progress in this issue. Thank you.
Thank you.